listening to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype, we got Josh.
Hey.
I promised you last week, I said we'd come back and we'd have NXT Great American Bash, and that we'd come back and we'd have Money in the Bank results, and I have both of those sitting in front of me right now. We're going to start off with NXT Great American Bash for no other reason than the fact that what we wanted ended up happening, and we got some new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, this was the right decision. It is time to start tearing apart Toxic Attraction's spot on the top. I'm not saying tearing apart the group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's time to move them down the card.
They've had enough time being that number one with everything to do with the woman. You know, there was a little bit of a piece in the middle with Raquel and Dakota, but other than that, these women have been standing on top for pretty much all of 2022. And I guess the aftermath of this was that Roxanne Perez is also challenging Mandy Rose one-on-one for the NXT Women's Championship. After this, I believe on NXT next week. I'm not 100% sure on the schedule for that, but I don't know. Are we going to move straight into two belts here, or do you think we're going to get a bit of a maybe Nikita Lyons showing up here?
I don't see Roxanne Perez or Cora Jade taking the title from Mandy. I think it has to be somebody separate from them, just so we don't do what we criticized the main roster for doing for so long with the other titles, and keeping them always combined with the main title.
Yep.
Or in the case of Bayley and Sasha Banks, the main titles. Both of them.
Yeah, that is a common tactic.
So, yeah, I mean, it's good that we see that the end of the basically 250-day reign, because we're going to ignore the 3-day reign, because WWE basically did.
Unless I'm talking about Dakota Kai, then yes, we'll be ignoring it.
Yeah, so it's been Toxic Attraction has been at the top of the women's division for the last at least 250 days. It's time to start moving on. I do think that probably we'll see. I think we probably will see the next challenger step up after Roxanne gets defeated, and I think whoever that is, which you seem to think would be Nikita Lyons,
gut feeling,
will probably be the one that will take, as long as it isn't Cora Jade.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
well, we got a bunch of other card. We're not going to have time to get to it all, so I will be jumping around. Your boy Grayson Waller puts on an amazing match with Carmelo Hayes, but unfortunately doesn't pick up the title.
No, and it was expected. They had just put the title back on Hayes anyway.
We can dream.
And Carmelo Hayes doesn't feel like a transitional champion, much in the same way that Cameron Grimes felt initially.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was expected.
That's fair enough. And the Creed brothers finally get this monkey off their back as they defeat Damon Kemp and Roderick Strong and retain those NXT Tag Team Championships.
Yeah, the Diamond Mine is pretty much collapsed now. It's for the best. Creed brothers were definitely the stars.
I just hope that Ivy Nile doesn't get lost in the shuffle. That's my one request out of this. NXT Championship main event. By 20 seconds, the longest match on the card. Cameron Grimes surviving against Bron Breakker, but ultimately not able to catch that title.
No, but this was more about showing what Braun can do, because we know Cameron Grimes is incredibly talented. It was more about challenging Bron Breakker as overall to bring more out of him, and I think that worked.
Yeah, and I found it quite interesting that straight after this match, pretty much both of these opponents immediately got their next opponent. Like, Cameron Grimes was backstage and had a bit of a light flickering moment. Someone's clearly messing with him. Seems like he might be heading towards Joe Gacy or something like that. And Bron Breakker gets himself attacked by JD, just coming over from NXT UK.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It may also end up being whatever that mysterious promo for with the countdown clock. for Cameron Grimes, at least.
True.
Whatever that ends up being. But yeah, it's good to see that we still have something more to do with Cameron Grimes and Braun. And Braun Breaker's next opponent is very clearly set up. So yeah,
we know where we're going for once. Alrighty, you go.
Also, I gotta throw in my I told you so moment.
All right, I'll let you have it. I was trying to skip it.
Skip it. Yes. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton won.
Good. There, you got your time. Now we're moving on. We're going to go into our entrance theme this week. It'll make a whole lot more sense if you haven't seen Money in the Bank after you stick around and we talk about that show up next, but it is that of Liv Morgan. And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. Money in the Bank. Let's talk about everything not to do with the briefcases first. Let's get that stuff out of the way, which, to be fair, is a very small amount of matches. But let's talk about the Usos and the Street Profits going on a marathon for 23 minutes.
This was match of the night. This is a candidate for match of the year. And we're not done with it.
We're in July.
Yeah. This was a phenomenal match. These two teams went to war. And everybody looked like $1 million.
Yeah, and I think it's that second part that you talk about, right? Like, whatever they want to do with the Street Profits after this is obviously murmurs of them exploding and Montez Ford getting a big little singles push there and a few other things, but it doesn't matter. Every single person here, we know Jey Uso can go, we know Jimmy Uso can go, we know Montez Ford can go, and Angelo Dawkins was no slouch in this match either. He also got quite a good showing.
Yeah. I think while we all notice Montez Ford is going to be a massive, I don't think people should sleep on Angelo Dawkins.
Mm-hmm.
He may not have the potential that we see in Montez, but he could definitely be a Sheamus type.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that he could be somebody who could be in the upper mid card, maybe get a world title reign at some point, but be somebody that you can depend on night in and night out. Whereas Montez Ford, we see being a top guy potential.
Yeah, it definitely seems as though they are grooming Tez to be able to jump up into that role. I would not be surprised if he started making a run in that upper mid card very soon. It all just comes down to, we got to wrap up the Usos Street Profits feud first, I think. But yeah, everybody looked great.
The first camera shot we thought actually did.
Yeah, true.
Because that was a clean looking win. But when we got the camera shot from the other angle, it revealed that Montez Ford's shoulder was not down.
It was quite up.
Yeah, it was quite obviously up, which was perfect storytelling, because the one angle that they did show us made us think, oh man, the Profits lost. The bloodline continues.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show the other angle just to mess with that, and they go, wait, they didn't actually lose. The match should have continued. They could have won the titles. Now we got a reason to do another match and get another classic. I say let's throw it all to the wind. 30-minute Iron Man match, tag team.
Sure, I'll let you have it. I think you're right that, usually when they do this whole, their shoulder wasn't down spot, we see it as the audience, and, we get more, I guess, the anger side of it. We're like, oh, we knew their shoulder was up and the ref still counted it. This is stupid. The way they played this one and the angles they showed were perfect, just to have that sympathetic, sad, like deflated piece to immediately turn around into like, oh, they could have done it, and bounce back. And yeah, I really liked how they shot that piece for sure. What else do we have here? We got a Bianca Belair title defense. Carmella lasted a little bit longer than I expected.
Yeah, Carmella definitely shined in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Bianca's Bianca. She's top tier. Arguably, you can put her ahead of many of the four horsewomen, which I guess are now three horsewomen, but that's neither here nor there.
4 asterisks.
Yeah. But yeah, Bianca's top tier, and Carmella, she hung. She hung with the EST.
Yeah, I think there's not a huge amount to say about this match, not because the two competitors did badly or anything, but it was just a match that we knew Carmella wasn't going to win. She was in there as filler, obviously as a last-minute replacement for Rhea, and it was still managed to make pretty good showing out of what was a last-minute change-up, for sure.
Carmella's basically killed it no matter what they've told her to do.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd like to see maybe them do something with her that's not a tag team related. But maybe start building her character outside of that mask and maybe finally getting rid of it. And just start doing stuff with her. But yeah, this was all about Bianca's first title defense, and so it is what it is.
Alrighty, now to shape the rest of the show, we've got about 15, 16 minutes left to go. But do you want to go down the men's route first or the women's route first?
Definitely men's, because I think we would want to end the show with our girl.
So the men's route, we had the second match of the card. It was Theory defending his United States Championship against Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, and I have to give you your moment here. Take it.
I was right, and Bobby Lashley won. Of course, it did not lead to the series of events that I thought were going to lead to, but I can still claim to be smart.
Yeah, it is what it is. I don't think this was the right decision, but hey, Theory got one hell of a consolation prize. Yeah, so it was Bobby Lashley Theory. I thought they had a really, really good match. I thought Lashley was able to elevate Theory a bit, make him look more legit, which, looking back now, makes more sense.
Yeah, I think Bobby Lashley's always going to look amazing, like $1 million, especially with this United States Championship. I think it really suits him. And ultimately, Theory wasn't going to hold the title and do what he did moving on later on in the night. So it makes sense if that's the direction they wanted to go with that. We'll talk obviously about whether that was the right decision later on, but I'm excited to see Bobby Lashley with the US title. I'm excited to see what his future is going to be. Hopefully it's not just Omos stepping back up and challenging him again. That would be quite disappointing for a first title feud for Bobby Lashley, but let's see what his future holds.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a question as to seeing who steps up to Bobby Lashley first. Who knows? Maybe we'll see John Cena step up to Bobby Lashley, and we can get another match from 2006. Maybe.
I think the confusing part for me is that SummerSlam is booked up with Bobby Lashley versus Theory for the United States Championship in a rematch. Which is just, our whole John Cena planning went out the window. I don't know what's happened with that, but it seems as though that's where we're headed, which is like triply confusing given the events later on in the night and where we sit with all of these people and all of these little chess pieces.
Yeah, we definitely have some stuff shuffling around. So, and all the puzzle pieces don't quite fit quite yet. So we're definitely going to have some time here in the next couple of weeks to figure out what's going on, because SummerSlam is at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm. We got a little while. Alrighty, well, what we've been alluding to the entire time, the Money in the Bank ladder match for a World Championship match contract. It was Madcap Moss versus Omos versus Sami Zayn versus Riddle versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre versus Seth freaking Rollins. And those were the 7 competitors for the match.
Oh, wait. Adam Pearce came out and announced an 8th member.
Fine. And Theory.
Yes. Yes. I thought this was a phenomenal ladder match. And honestly, I think it was a right decision.
Yeah, it's... Firstly, on the match quality, I'm down with you. I agree 100%. Sheamus and Drew McIntyre had that sort of blood feud throughout it. Omos played the amazing big guy role where we had to team up against him multiple times. Riddle and Rollins were just looking $1 million throughout it. Madcap Moss was getting exposure to a much higher level match than he'd been in previously. And Sami Zayn, right? He's always going to do great things, and was able to play a couple of little comedy roles, like hiding behind the post and things like that as well. So everybody had such a separate role that everybody could play them just so well. And obviously Theory had that little bit of a spoiler role, as he'd hang out of the group spots and then sort of just come in and be that sneaky guy at the end, that ultimately helped him succeed and helped him win that briefcase.
Yeah. Also, can I say it took 6 wrestlers to take the place of a Roman Reigns? because it took all 7 wrestlers to powerbomb Omos.
Yeah. It's really just trying to, I guess, sell Omos as that next big giant, right? Like, we've had it a few times, most evidently with Braun Strowman just before Omos. They're always going to have one, or at least one, should I say.
And I will say this, I think Riddle, out of everybody that not named Theory, probably came out of this the best. Because Riddle showed off, he had quite a few spots, and he was the last one standing in the way of Theory winning before Riddle got dispatched by Theory. So it is, I do think that maybe they are starting that slow build towards something bigger for Riddle, especially with Orton gone. They'll have to, and apparently on Raw, he was going after Seth Rollins.
Yeah, it seems as though that's where SummerSlam's going to be headed here with Riddle versus Seth Rollins, which, as I said, those two were showing up and showing off all the way through Money in the Bank, and they were the favorites, I guess. You know, Seth Rollins making the most thematic sense, and Riddle being what you called 6 months ago. So I find it kind of ironic that they're now facing off in SummerSlam. You know, the one you predicted miles away, and then the one you switched to the night before.
Yeah, it's just storylines were like lining up for the change. But we've got ourselves an interesting one here. The question, I guess, becomes: can Theory become the second youngest world heavyweight?
It's a tough question, and I don't know if I can answer that for you.
Because I can say this: if he does manage to capture a title, and I'm going to say a title because we don't know for sure if there's some fancy language in the contract that will only allow him to take one, by SummerSlam, he will become champion by 24, which is what Orton was.
Yeah, I'm fully down for that, but I don't know. It's just so hard to. You know, Roman Reigns has had such a vice grip on those titles, thinking somebody like Theory, who, as sneaky and conniving as he is, he's not on Roman Reigns' level.
Nobody is, and that's the problem. I will say this. I do think the stipulation of that match does heavily pay into, would make more sense for Theory to actually win the title.
Yeah.
Because the match is a last man standing match. It's going to take a heck of a lot of damage to conquer either Roman or Brock. And that will leave them damaged to an opportunist like Austin Theory.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to, you know, contract wording and what ends up happening. I'll sit around with bated breath to see what Theory ends up doing, but we will only have to wait and see. Before we run out of time, let's jump on over to the women's match. Again, Money in the Bank ladder match, women's championship contract on the line. It was Shotzi versus Lacey Evans versus Raquel Rodriguez, please, let me get that right, versus Alexa Bliss versus Asuka versus Becky Lynch, and versus the eventual winner that everybody counted out, Liv Morgan.
This was a good ladder match, too. For everybody but Shotzi.
A little rough, but...
Yeah, Shotzi had a few bad spots. And that happens. Sometimes you're not used to using stuff like ladders and things in matches. So mistakes will happen. I'm very happy for Liv. I think we had said for months we wanted to see her built up, and everything since her matches with Becky was elevating her further and further, and making her ready, and making the fans ready for what happened on Saturday night.
Yeah, because as much as we want to talk about that ladder match, and we want to talk about, you sit here and you're like, that is a career-defining moment, Liv Morgan winning that briefcase. She kind of overshadowed herself later on in the night. But one thing I do just want to jump in quickly and mention, and I'm sure it's nobody that's listening to the show, but just be totally respectful of people, please. Coming out of this matchup, there's been a lot of hate being thrown around on the internet, and I know the internet is a absolute cesspool when it comes to that, and fostering weird and crazy people to be able to say whatever they want. And just don't. People are humans, all right? Just respect everyone. I think Rhea Ripley put out some great words this morning around that, and everybody sort of come around and defended Shotzi, who seems to be taking a large majority of the hate for this match. It was still a good match. It's still wrestling. These people still put their lives on the line to entertain you. Just enjoy your entertainment.
Yeah, but we don't want another situation like Hana.
No. And that's all I'm going to say. And I'm hoping it's nobody listening to the show, so hopefully that all fell to people who didn't need to hear it. But let's pick up the pace again, pick up the excitement, because later on in the night, Ronda Rousey, Natalya, they fought, and, Ronda Rousey came out on top, as we expected.
Yeah, it was an alright match. It wasn't a great match, but it was an alright one. Best spot of the night was definitely the HBK sharpshooter pose in the sharpshooter.
Yeah.
On Bret Hart's birthday. To a heart.
Look, it was good. I liked that spot quite a lot.
Yeah, that was a great little moment. And then they did it again.
Less than a few hours.
I would love to know the average time length for a Money in the Bank briefcase for the women, because it definitely gets skewed by Carmella's 294-day reign.
It's true.
Every other one has lasted 1 day or less.
Look,
lasted less than 2 hours.
I'm gonna get my pen out. I'm gonna put a note down, and I'm gonna go with Women's Money in the Bank minute average. Next week on the show, tune in. I will get those figures for you. I will go through the tape. I will figure it out.
Yeah, Ronda was injured, and the way she was staying in the ring and stuff, you just knew it was coming. You just knew it. And then they played the music, the crowd popped, which was such a validation. And then when she won with the most powerful move in all of wrestling, a roll-up, the crowd popped again. So yeah, our new SmackDown Women's Champion is Liv Morgan. And guess what? That sets up Survivor Series with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I'm not going to get ahead of myself when it comes to a Liv Morgan title reign, but I'm excited for what we have. We sat here and we were rooting for Liv, and we wanted this, and we were predicting it with hearts but not heads, and didn't think they'd eventually go through with it. And to think in the space of 2 hours, we saw Liv Morgan have a star-making performance, winning the Money in the Bank ladder match, then cashing it in and becoming champion, but not just cashing it in randomly, cashing it in against Ronda Rousey, defeating the baddest woman on the planet, one of the top, at least like kayfabe booked woman in all of WWE, and is now the champion, where we never believed that was going to happen. It was something we thought was off in fairy tale land.
Apparently, rumor has it, take it with a grain of salt, Ronda Rousey demanded to drop the title to Liv.
I'll take it.
We're going to get a rematch at SummerSlam.
A little scary.
Yeah, definitely scary with a healthy Ronda Rousey. But if they do play their cards right, Liv should be champion for maybe the remainder of the year.
Let's cross all of our fingers and all of our toes and everything else we got.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the beginning of at least a test period to see what Liv can do as a champion. I think also you have to also look at this. Both briefcase winners were under 30 years.
That's always a good fact.
Yeah, the fans always complain that they're not building new stars. Here they are trying to build two brand new stars in a 24-year-old, about to be 25-year-old Theory, and Liv Morgan, who I think is 28.
Yeah, and let's see what both of their futures hold as we continue on. But that is all we have time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D Up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D Up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling R&D Up. And you can catch us next week where I probably won't forget about that Money in the Bank minute average cash-in statistic.